Wonderful. So thank you all for coming to our workshop, 5 tips to get noticed by employers, getting hired on Handshake. Some of you may have seen the blog that went out last week, and then there's going to be another one this next coming week. We are starting this campaign called Get Hired on Handshake. Basically, we just want more students on Tufts campus to familiarize themselves with Handshake and learn a little bit more about how it can be a resource to you as you're looking for jobs, internships, co-ops, volunteer opportunities. It's a really, really great platform, and we just want to make sure that students are hearing about it. So we are going to be having a couple of these workshops, and we're also going to have some blog posts that will be posted on a weekly basis for the next 2 months, just kind of giving you different tips and tricks, walking you through different ways that you can utilize Handshake. So we wanted to start off with this workshop, just kind of sharing with you some ways that you can maximize your use of Handshake so that employers will be more likely to see your profile, to engage with you, to reach out. And we're also hoping that you'll all join us for our career fair that is on February 11th. So we'll talk more about that in today's presentation as well, just kind of tying all of that together to encourage you to make use of Handshake and join us for the fair. All right, you can move on to the next slide, Kate. So some things that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to discuss how to get started with Handshake for those of you who maybe haven't used it before. As I said before, we'll be talking about maximizing your profile, your career interests, different things that you can customize on your Handshake profile to help spread the word a little bit more about who you are and help you to use the platform to your greatest abilities. We'll show you how to register for the career fair, again, happening in 2 weeks. And we will take some time for questions at the end. Right now, we do have this PowerPoint, but hopefully we'll have some time at the end to do a screen share where I can just kind of walk you through some screens that you might encounter on Handshake as well. And that'll just kind of give you a little bit more of a visual of what you can expect on Handshake. So hopefully we'll have time to do both. All right, next slide. So first, what is Handshake? So I created a poll. I don't usually use polls, so let's see if this actually works. Can you guys see this poll? Oh, great. Yes. Okay, cool. So in the poll, I'm asking, have you ever logged into Handshake before? And so far, I'm seeing a whole bunch of yeses. That is terrific. That is what I like to hear. All right. So it looks like 100% of those of you who are here today have logged into Handshake at least one time. So that's super, super cool. Love to see it. Does anyone want to tell me, just in like one sentence, you can either take yourself off mute or you can put it in the chat, just one sentence, what is Handshake? How would you describe what the Handshake platform is or does or is used for? Any takers? All right, it is a Friday. You can move on to the next screen, Kate. Actually, you can stay on this one for a second, either one. Basically, Handshake is a Tufts platform for connecting students to internships, jobs, and career events. So with Handshake, you will have the opportunity to discover and apply for jobs, internships, volunteer opportunities, co-ops, things like that. Send and receive messages from employers that might want to hire you, connect with your peers for tips and advice, and get access to career fairs, employer events, interview days, and various sorts of career resources. So lots that you can do, lots that you can accomplish. Now, when I did that poll, thank you, I could have asked how many of you have a Handshake account, and that would have actually kind of been a trick question because all of you have a Handshake account. It's just a matter of actually signing in. So it seems like all of you have done this before, so I won't spend too much time on it. But if you haven't, or if you have a friend who has never logged into Handshake before, you can just go to tufts.joinhandshake.com. And you do have an account already set up with your Tufts ID and password. So you can just write that in. This little image on the side might be a screen that you've seen before. I do also want to let you know that there's a Handshake app. So if you are somebody who prefers to look at Handshake on your phone, it's a little bit more user-friendly if you do it in the app form versus trying to have a browser window open on your phone. So either one is totally fine. It is available for both iOS and Android. The screenshots that I have today are going to be coming from the web page, not from the app. just so you know, but the app is very user-friendly and pretty easy to figure out. All right, Kate, if you could go to the next screen, please. So once you log in, you'll see this screen. So you're going to want to select Tufts University. You want to add your graduation date, make sure you agree to the terms of service, and then you can go ahead and click Get Started. Next slide. So now what, right? I don't know how many of you maybe have gotten that far and are now here today because you don't really know where to go from there. But you've taken that first step. How do you actually utilize this platform now that you've created it? So the neat thing about Handshake is that it isn't just a database of job postings. It's also kind of like a social platform. It enables you to build connections, to grow your professional network. So today we're going to talk about some things that you can do to draw employers to you and increase your chances of getting opportunities. So hopefully this won't just be a dry, like, here's how to create your profile, but I want to really kind of keep the conversation around how can you maximize your use so that you'll get more employers wanting to come to you, so that you'll have more opportunities to have FaceTime with employers, so that you'll build your network, things like that. So we can go to the next slide. So we're going to talk today about 5 different tips, quick things that you can do to help maximize that employer interaction. So the first one is selecting your profile visibility. So when you log on, you'll see a page that looks like this. You can show the next slide, Kate. So Handshake provides 3 profile privacy options for student accounts. There's community, employers, and private. Next slide. So first is community. So this is the one that I would recommend to most students. It allows you to be visible to employers, students, and alumni across all Handshake colleges and universities. So this means that employers who may be doing targeted outreach, they'll have a chance of coming across your profile because they can see it, because it's listed as being visible. So with this visibility type, you can also message students and alumni who might share similar interests. Maybe you'll find somebody who has previously worked at a company you're really interested in, and you want to hear from them and see if it's a good fit for you too. You can kind of practice those networking skills. And it's also important to note that you do have to have your community view selected in order to participate in the career fair. So make sure that you, prior to the career fair, set yourself up as community. All right, you can go to the next slide, Kate. I just want to really quickly show you, and actually you can do one more slide as well. So we've got the other 2 views are the employer view and the private view. So the employers only view means that employers can still see your profile, but students and alums cannot. So, you might still receive messages from employers, but you don't have that extra kind of networking opportunity where you can talk to alums or other students at Tufts. The private option is a great one if you really just don't want to have too much interaction. You really just want to use Handshake as a way to search for jobs. People won't really be able to see you unless you do apply for a job through Handshake. So if you apply for a job at a certain company, that employer is going to want to be able to view your profile since you're one of the applicants. They will be able to view your profile in that instance, but otherwise, there's no messaging. People can't see you. You can just use it strictly as a platform to look for jobs. Questions so far? Feel free to take yourself off mute, or you can write in the chat before I move on to tip number 2. Okay, one thing to note too about the visibility is you can go in and edit that at any time. So if you don't feel comfortable keeping yourself on community, but you do want to attend the career fair, you can switch it on to community for the fair, and then you can turn it back to private or whatever you want later on. So you're not beholden to it, but do keep in mind that you have to turn it on to community in order to access the fair. All right, we're going to move right along to tip number 2. So second tip of the day is filling in your career interests. So when you sign up for Handshake, it'll ask you a whole bunch of questions about your interests. It might be tempting to skip this step. I know that a lot of times when I sign into, different LinkedIn for the first time, it'll be like, do you want to add a phone number? Do you want to add a picture? And you're just like, no, I'll do that later. I'll do that later. Totally understandable. I've been there. But I really, really do recommend that you take some time to fill in these career interests because it's actually there to serve you. So completing this section allows the system to learn about what you're looking for and suggest like jobs and internships and co-ops and events that they think will align with your interests. So it's kind of like it's one of those tech platforms, I'm sure you're very familiar with this, that kind of has an algorithm that gets to know you over time the more you use it. So it is designed to get to know you, to have you engage more and more, and the more clicks that you do and the more likes that you do and the more times that you apply for jobs, the better it will get to know you, and it'll personalize your experience even more. So I know that sounds a little sketchy sometimes when it's like Google following you around to the corner store, but in this case, it's strictly just for maximizing your experience on the app, because whenever you go to like new jobs that are posted, the jobs that come up are going to be the ones that are going to be prioritized to show up at the top of the list are the ones that are going to be most relevant to what you're looking for. All right, so you can go to the next slide. These are just some examples of the kinds of career interest questions that are going to pop up when you sign on to Handshake. So first one, where would you like to work? So if you are staying in Boston and you want to find a local job, if you're graduating and moving back home to California and you're looking for California-based jobs, that's what that first one is looking for. You can also specify industries that you're interested in. So say you want to go into tech or finance or the arts, you can say so. What types of job roles are you interested in? So maybe there are specific titles that you're looking for, like product manager or analyst, things like that. You can specify. And then this last one is interesting, qualities that you're looking for in an employer. What does that mean? That can mean so many different things. Kate, if you go to the next slide, I can show you an example. So this is something that you will see on the page when you sign up for Handshake. So it'll ask you, company culture. Do you have preferences about company culture? Do you want to work somewhere that's really flexible? Do you want to work somewhere that identifies themselves as collaborative or fun or friendly? These are things that the employers, when they create an account, can specify and make it easier for you to find them. Same with types of employers. Do you want to work at a larger company or a smaller one? Do you want to work at a startup versus one that's maybe a little bit of a bigger company that's better known? Are there certain supports that you want to make sure that the company you work for provides? So these are just some examples. You can just click the plus arrow on as many of these as you want. And again, it will just help the platform start to know you a little bit better. Any questions before we move on to tip number 3? Pretty straightforward so far. All right. So tip number 3 is to complete your profile. Again, this might just seem like yeah, I know I'm supposed to add a picture, whatever. It's weird to put your picture on things. I hear you. But this really does make a difference, and you want to complete your profile as much as possible because, and you can go to the next slide here, Kate, students with a completed profile are 5 times more likely to be messaged by an employer, which is insane. But it really is, if you think about it from the perspective of the employer, they're looking for students that are really engaged and active on the platform. So if they reach out, they're more likely to get responses. And so they're filtering on their end too, looking for what kind of candidates they think are going to be the best fit for their job. And if they see somebody who really has a lot of fleshed out content on their profile, they're going to have a better sense of whether they think that you might be a good candidate. So some things that you can do to flesh out your profile are, you can actually go to the next slide, Kate. Adding a professional photo, headshot, whatever you have. You don't want to just have yourself like relaxing on a couch with a t-shirt on, but make sure it's something that like frames your face and that you're wearing a professional top. Skills that you have, professional skills. Maybe you've taken a course in Excel. That's definitely something you want to share. You also want to share any courses that you've taken at school, especially if they're relevant to the career field that you're interested in pursuing. So say you've taken Psychology 101 already and you want to be a therapist. That's a great thing to share with a potential employer, that that's something that you already have experience with. You might see this is kind of like a resume. So that is basically what you're doing here, is you're uploading a lot of the same sorts of content that you would put in a resume. work experience that you have, places that you've been employed that might be, again, similar or in line with the direction that you're hoping to go with your next upcoming role. Or even volunteer opportunities, internships, unpaid gigs that you had that helped to boost your experiences and boost your skill sets. All of those things are worth putting on your profile. And then documents. So there's a place where you can upload documents. Specifically, I would say upload your resume. I think that that's a really, really good idea. I like to always send a PDF version of my resume rather than a Word document, just because it's cleaner. If somebody else opens it on their end, it won't mess up the formatting. So uploading a PDF right onto your profile is a really good idea. And you can see over here that you can track your progress by looking at the profile completion bar. So you should strive to have your profile 100% complete. Again, the more complete your profile is, the more likely it is that an employer will seek you out. All right, next slide. So while we're talking about your profile, I just wanted to quickly mention one other piece. And this is kind of a newer feature on Handshake, I believe, where you are invited to share your pronouns, your gender, your race, and your ethnicity on your profile. So when you choose to identify your race and ethnicity, it allows employers to layer this information onto their search criteria. So you might receive invites to apply for jobs, connect with recruiters, attend events, based on how the employer is engaging with underrepresented talent. That might be something that they're really prioritizing and filtering for, just like how you can filter things. So by allowing you to choose how you're represented, Handshake is trying to make the experience for you more personalized, while also helping employers make their hiring practices more equitable. Consent and privacy are super, super important. At no time will an employer be able to see your race or ethnicity of you or any individual student. All race, ethnicity, and gender data is aggregated but kept anonymous. So this is really just so that employers, if they're specifically looking for underrepresented talent, they can go to the search bar and they can filter to only see students that fall into a certain category, and that's the data that they'll be looking at. Ultimately, it is 100% your decision whether to add your race and ethnicity to your profile. There's so much more to you than your background. Your skills and qualifications are always going to be the most important factor and the first thing that employers are looking at when they're hiring students on Handshake. So do keep that in mind. This is just an optional thing that you can do if you would like. All right, you can go to the next slide. So if you do want to edit your career interest or your profile or anything else at any time, you can always do that. So this is what the main Handshake page will look like if you log in. And you can see if you go up to the top right corner, you'll see your initials. It says ST, but it'll say your initials. And you can just go down to my profile or my career interests, and you can edit those pieces as often as you want. So don't feel like you're stuck with whatever you choose the first time. Questions before I move on to tip number 4? Quiet bunch. All right. So tip number 4 is to follow employers. So just like on Instagram or TikTok or any other social media platform that you use, there is an option to follow employers that you like. So when you follow an employer, Handshake will provide you with the notifications, with like notifications that'll pop up on your screen of different events that that employer might be hosting or new jobs that pop up, anything that you might be interested in. This also kind of brings us back to my earlier point about helping Handshake get to know you better. So if you're consistently liking or following like tech companies, then Handshake is going to know that that's a career interest that you have, and they'll be more likely to bump tech employers to the top of your list when you're looking at lists of employers. And they'll start to prioritize that over other types of interests. If you want to check back on a certain job, maybe you really want to work at Google. If you follow Google, then you can easily find your follows and you can click on them and say, oh, have they posted any new jobs lately? Let me go check in on that. And it's just an easy way to keep it all consolidated and together in one place. If you go to the next slide, this is what it looks like when you follow an employer. So if you go to an employer page, for instance, Possum Pet Supply and Grooming, if you're interested in following this employer, in the top right corner where that arrow is, you can see it says follow with a little star. Just click on that and you'll be following them, and you'll start getting notifications when they have any sort of new content. All right, moving on, next slide. So last but not least, final and perhaps biggest tip of the day is to browse Handshake events and to attend the career fair. So employers often invite tough students to attend different sorts of events. That might be panels, workshops, info sessions, or just even like a coffee chat to introduce you to their company. Employers typically host one-off events like these, but the career fair is a really great way to see all of them in one place, right? So if you look at all the different events that are happening on Handshake, you can sign up for one-off opportunities. And if you want to meet a whole bunch of people in one afternoon, you can come to our career fair. It's a really great way to practice your networking skills, to get one-on-one FaceTime with employers. So we'll talk a little bit more about the fair in just a second, but just know that that is something that you can search for just like any other event on Handshake and register for it, and then you can join. All of these events are virtual pretty much at this point. Who knows when that will change, but right now, if you see an event on Handshake, usually there will be a Zoom link attached, or for the career fair, it's mostly held right on Handshake. So Handshake has a video platform that you can use and just get that FaceTime right there from your computer. All right, moving on to the next slide. Just real quick, again, I'm going to share my screen when we're done here, but this is just a quick little visual of what you'll see if you go to the events tab on Handshake. So you can see you can select this week, this month, see what events are coming up at different times. And there is one section that says career fair. So if you click on career fair, you'll see all the upcoming career fairs. We do career fairs twice a year, so one in the fall and one in the spring. Some of you may have already joined our fall career fair, but now we have our spring one coming up in 2 weeks. So you'll see that it'll pop up. Registration actually opens today at noon. So it's been open already for 26 minutes. As soon as you sign off from today's event, you can go right in and register for our fair. You'll also see on this page that there's on the right-hand side, it says your schedule. So any events that you have previously registered for that are upcoming are going to pop up right there so you can keep track. This is also a little bit of a plug because you'll see that the one that I have right here on my schedule is Rock Your LinkedIn Profile. So we have a Tufts alum who works at LinkedIn who's really excited to talk to Tufts students about LinkedIn. It's just sort of another way that you can boost your network and help you to look for new job opportunities. Some of you may already be familiar with LinkedIn, but it'll be really cool to hear some tips and tricks from somebody who works there and who has a special interest in helping tough students find jobs. It'll be kind of a similar type of event to this one today, where she'll just kind of give you some tips and tricks on how to maximize your use of LinkedIn. So you'll see that's on February 8th from 12 to 1. Go on into Handshake and log in to register for that one too, if you want to. Okay, next slide. So these are just some helpful links. I'm going to send out this PowerPoint to everybody who's in attendance today so that you can click on these links at your leisure later on. But we've got the link to join Handshake if you haven't done that yet. Handshake 101 is a link to a page that's on our website, actually, our Career Center website, and it's just kind of a hub spot for all content related to Handshake. We do have a prepare for the fair video. So last fall, we conducted a workshop for students that was really going in depth on how to prepare for a virtual career fair, not just like Handshake tips like we're doing today, but it talks a little bit more about, how to dress for success, how to research companies to come up with really good questions to ask, things like that. I really, really strongly recommend that if you're planning on attending the career fair, you watch this video beforehand. It's on our YouTube channel. So if you click on that link, you will see it. The next link is career fair resources, lots of more, 10 best things to know, troubleshooting, FAQs, just anything you could ever need. All the resources you could possibly want are all on that page right there. And then finally, that last link there is how to actually register for the career fair if you haven't done that yet. All right. I'm going to stop there. Let's stop sharing the PowerPoint so I can see, I guess I was going to say see your faces, but you probably don't have your faces up here. But I know that was a lot of information, and I just want to see if anybody has any questions. And then if we have time, I can do another little screen share just to walk you through the actual website in real time to show you what some of these screens look like. Any questions at all? Everyone's like, TGIF, get me out of here. I want to take a nap. It's Friday.
I think that was really helpful, Willa.
Wonderful. All right, so since it doesn't seem like we have any questions, I am just gonna do a quick screen share here. Give me one moment. Of course, I have a million different screens up, as I always do. Okay. So you might see that I've been looking back and forth between two places because I have two screens up, so I apologize for not making more eye contact. Okay, it's making me re-sign in. Here we go, boom. Okay, so this is what Handshake looks like, the homepage if you sign in. And this is me on my student account right now, so this is exactly what you would all see. If you scroll down, you can see some upcoming events. If you're interested in Vanderbilt University School of Engineering, they have an event coming up. Insight Partners is doing some coffee chats, etc. You can view all events right here. If you keep scrolling down, you'll also see jobs. We are going to be doing another workshop similar to this one next week that will go a little bit more in depth into like how to poke around Handshake and learn different things that are in here. So we'll talk more about that next week. But if you're curious, here's where you can look at some jobs, see more jobs. Again, these are the kind of like ones that are spotlighted right now, and those are going to be focused on based on what they've learned about you, what the algorithm has started to get to know about who you are and what you're interested in. Those kind of jobs will pop up first. Some new jobs that just came up, etc. So if you scroll down, you'll see all that content, or you can more easily just go to jobs, events, employers, whatever you're looking for. So I'm just going to show you real quick how to look for the fair. So if you go to events, right now it's right there on my screen, but you can also go to career fairs. And these are the career fairs that are coming up. This is the one that is for our career center for students that are in the School of Art, Science, and Engineering. So if we click right here, now it's telling me that I'm not qualified to join. That's because I'm not actually a student at Tufts. I'm an employer at Tufts, and this is just a kind of placeholder page to show you what everything looks like. But you should, when you click on this page, see a button here that says register. So to sign up for the fair, you click right there, register, and then you're all set to go. Basically, the way that the career fair works is there's going to be many employers, over 100 employers are all going to be available, and they're going to set up schedules. And so they have the opportunity to host both one-on-one and group sessions. Some employers might prefer to do a group session where they're just inviting as many students as want to jump into this video call and just learn a little bit about their company. They might do a screen share with the PowerPoint. They might do more of an informal get to know you coffee chat, but it's a little bit less one-on-one and more just kind of getting a general view of what an employer does. They also have the opportunity to do one-on-one sessions. And so you might see, say you want to get a job with Google, and Google has one-on-one appointments available at 1 to 110 and 110 to 120 and 120 to 130. They're short, they're only 10 minutes. You can sign up for the 1 to 110 slot, and you'll get the chance to just jump on a call with one representative who works at Google and just talk to them a little bit. So it's a really great way to practice your elevator pitch, practice talking a little bit about yourself, networking, ask any questions that you might have about a company. So once you register for the fair, you'll have the opportunity to build out that schedule for yourself. So you can sign up for, okay, from 1 to 1:30, I'm going to do this group session. And then from 1:30 to 1:40, I'm going to do a one-on-one, and just fill up your schedule as much as you want. If you have a pretty busy day, the event runs from 1 to 4, but say you're only free from 3 to 4, great. Just join a couple things from 3 to 4. You don't have to fill up your whole schedule, but it's just a really great way to take advantage of the fact that a bunch of employers are all going to be at one place at one time. So again, this is the page, virtual career fair. If you go down here, you can just learn some information about who's going to be there, how to participate, more supports. I definitely recommend that you make sure that your resume is really strong and up to date before you attend the fair. So if you want, you could come join one of our career labs to get it looked at and critiqued and see if there's anything you want to do to boost that resume before you join. We are also going to have, we're calling it kind of like chat office hours, but basically if you go to the career fair or if you go to the Career Center website anytime the week of the fair, the week of the 4th, there will be a little button down in the bottom corner. You know how when you go to like an Apple website, there's a thing that pops up that's like, hi, how can we help you? We're real humans behind that. So if you go to our website, there will be a little thing that says, hi, can we help you? Do you have any questions? And if you type in a question, we at the Career Center will be able to answer those questions for you directly. Also, on the day of the actual fair, there's going to be a student Zoom room that will be open for the duration of the fair, starting an hour before the fair starts. And myself and 1 or 2 other people from our center are going to be in the chat for the entire time. And if you have any questions, if you're confused, if you don't know what to click on, pop on into the Zoom room for a second and ask your question, and we'll be there to support you through it. So we want to make sure that it's as simple and straightforward and stress-free of a process as possible. And we really hope and encourage you all to attend. So I think that's kind of the basic thing to see here. Again, if you click on events, you can see other things too that are not just the fair. Here's where we are right now. This is what's happening this week. Here's some things happening this month. So just poke around, see what you can find, sign up for some things, create your profile, reach out if you have any questions, and look out for this PowerPoint to come through in your email after this, and you can peruse some of those links.